Hi everyone, we are Bali Insiders and we're back with another episode for you.
Yes, we are back. And how are you going, Karls?
I am good, how are you?
Very well, thank you. And today we are going to be interviewing a very special guest. We are interviewing Monty Hooke, the founder of our home here at Lighthouse Studios.
Yeah, we're really excited to talk to Monty because he's a great visionary when it comes to creative concepts, new styles of businesses, and we want to get the down low from him on everything, the inspiration behind these studios and who is using these studios besides us.
Exactly. Who else is creating amazing podcasts?
Hi Monty and welcome to Bali Insiders.
Thank you for having me on your show in this beautiful studio.
Thank you for having us in the studio.
Oh, you're very welcome. What a treat.
Yes, a treat for both of us.
Thanks.
Well, as you know, we do our fast 5 questions to start the interview. So, when did you first visit Bali?
Oh, I first visited Bali in 2000. The year 2000, a long time ago. I was a very small, young surfer kid drinking bintangs. It's a very different human.
And what's your favourite area of Bali?
I like visiting the mountains, Munduk, and we go to Cinnamon a lot. So
Nice.
mountain type of thing.
And get cold.
I love
get a
the
little
cold,
bit
yeah. Bit of contrast to the tropical
the everyday
beach.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favourite restaurant in Bali?
Barbacoa. It was my favorite from probably 2014, and then I went off meat for a while, and then I came back on meat, and now it's my favorite again.
Yeah, barbacoa is not for the vegans.
No.
No. What's your favourite local food?
I don't mind a good nasi goreng. We do a good one here at Lighthouse.
Ooh.
And I like those, I don't know what you call it, the crispy corn fritters.
Oh, yes, they're
yeah,
delicious.
yeah, they're delicious.
You
I
get
had
them
one for
in
lunch
the-
yesterday.
When you have nasi campur.
Yeah, when you get in the champur, yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you love most about Bali?
I love the culture here. I love the people, and I love just the contrast. Like there's so many different people from different nationalities, and there's different landscapes, and it's kind of a little bit chaotic and peaceful all at the same time. So
Yes.
Peaceful, chaotic.
yeah,
Peaceful chaos.
Okay, so we're going to get a little bit into your story and the story of Lighthouse, and we've been excited for this interview because, of course, Lighthouse is our home, and we're excited for everybody to learn a little bit more about what goes on here, as we've learnt over the past year. But tell us first, what brought you to Bali, and how did you end up creating a business here?
My previous business before Lighthouse, I'm still part of. I have an outsourcing company in the Philippines. So I started that when I was living in Australia, 2012, 2013. And I got invited in 2013 to come and speak at some business seminars and workshops. And like I said before, I've been here in year 2000 the first time. But then when I came back in 2013, I really fell in love with I spent a lot of time in Ubud, so I kind of liked I was kind of going through a bit of a spiritual phase, I guess, and a lot of discovery. So it was a good time for me to discover Ubud and the woo-woo kind of stuff.
The perfect place.
So 2013 to 2016, I was pretty well based here. So I had a villa, but I was traveling around the world.
Yep.
So I kind of had a base here, and I was just moving around the world all of that time. I went and lived in Manila from 2017 to 2019 for 3 years. And then in 2019, I had a breakup and I started traveling back to Bali. And then I think just with some maturity, I kind of had fresh eyes to what Bali was. And it made me realize that I didn't really experience Bali for what it was before. I wasn't very grounded, I guess. And just since that time, I've just fallen in love. And I've left the country once in 4 years. So.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And was that the first time then that you started to do business in Bali? Because previously you had your business in the Philippines and you were...
Previously I was just doing the remote work kind of thing. I had a company in Australia, a company in the Philippines, and I just kind of was just based here. And then 2019 I scaled myself out of the business, and I was looking for a new opportunity, I guess. I was in a different place in my life. I was kind of open to new ideas. And I wanted to move back to Bali, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do next, but I wanted to start a podcast. And this might answer one of your next questions,
Yes.
but I was looking for, I wanted to start a podcast, and anybody can start a podcast. You can do it with your phone. There's all sorts of ways you can do it. But I wanted to do it with like a multi-camera setup in a studio with somebody doing it for me. I just wanted to do it at the top end. And I looked for studios and I couldn't find it. Yep. So I had the intention of wanting to start a podcast, and that was real. But then my entrepreneurial brain just kind of took over and just kind of ran.
And said, there's no one doing this.
So here we are. So.
And
yeah.
that's how the Lighthouse concept came about.
That's how the idea of the business was kind of sprouted. There was a lot of things in between. I guess I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a numbers guy.
Yep.
So I ran all the projections, and I went and visited properties, and then I started just in my numbers to scale up the idea. My original idea was just to have one small studio where I could record my podcast and just rent it out the time that I wasn't there. So maybe I was going to have one staff managing the studio who did the videography and the editing for me, and then rent it out the rest of the time. So it kind of paid for itself.
Yeah.
And then my little coffee brain decided, I really love a barista and a high-end coffee machine.
It's really handy to get a coffee.
And just a little coffee bar with like maybe 6 chairs, and like, all right. And then it just kind of grew from that. And then next thing you know, we've got this whole
Yeah. So of
giant
course
space.
now we have 3 studios
Yes.
of different sizes and the restaurant downstairs,
Yes.
which is a co-working space
Yeah, it's
kind of as well.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to define who we are, and that's one of the cool things about Bali is, you know, there's a lot of businesses that are kind of breaking the mold.
Yeah.
We don't call ourselves a co-working space, and we don't really call ourselves a cafe. We're not really competing with all the other cafes in, you know, central Canggu, etc. So we tend to attract what I would call the short-term expats and the long-term expats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of people float in and out of Bali. They spend a couple months here at a time, and then they go back to Europe or they go back to Australia. I would call them short-term expats.
Yeah.
Then I kind of define digital nomads a little bit differently, because there seems to be like a mentality with the digital nomads, which seems to be different to the more, I don't know, what I would call the expats. They seem to have a
different.
They have
yeah,
a different.
I agree that
they have a different approach.
Yeah.
Different.
You know, they're not really chasing the digital nomads, and like influencer life kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, look at me, I'm a digital nomad.
Yeah.
It's got its place. I'm not knocking it.
Yeah.
But we tend to attract, I guess, people like us who are
Yeah.
long-term or short-term expats.
And with and this is maybe going to sound wrong too, but like a business, more like a structured, focused business, opposed to. Oh, no, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go there actually.
Well, the way I look at it is it's more seasoned business people.
Yeah.
Yes.
So people who have successful businesses in Australia, and maybe they've stepped out of that and they want to spend time in Bali, or they want to expand it over to Bali, but they've already built something for themselves.
Yeah.
And then now they're just coming and exploring what is the next thing, maybe in a different location.
Yes. Yeah.
So they're the kind of people that we get here at Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Rather than being a touristy cafe or something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we get a few.
Yeah.
But we're a little bit. We're not in central Canggu.
Yeah.
Right? We're a great place to meet because we're between kind of the hubs of Seminyak,
And
Canggu, Denpasar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you need to get from Uluwatu to Canggu, you've got to basically go past here.
Yeah.
So it's a great place to meet.
It is a great place to take a meeting, actually.
Yeah. And we are very well set up for that. That's one of the things that we have learned over the first year of being in business is, you know, figuring out our identity, because we are very mixed business. And it has been tricky at times, like, what the hell are we?
Yeah,
and there's been a lot of just working stuff out.
Yeah.
And this idea that, you know, and you might have even noticed downstairs in the space, we've kind of restructured the space with bigger tables.
Yeah.
So we're now kind of promoting the idea that, you know, you can bring your team here, have a meeting, and
Yeah, which is important because I do have, like, we obviously have meetings all over Bali, and and finding that kind of space where you can still get good food and good coffee, but you're inside, you're not outside, you've got a space you can sit.
And that you're welcomed to come and sit with your team and be on your laptops. And, you know, you can get some food and coffee and...
As long as you spend lots of money, we're good.
Of course. But, you know, it is changing a little bit now as well. You know, it's harder to find spaces where you can do that if you are, you know, a short-term expat. You know, places are now putting rules in, you know, no laptops or, you know, so to be able to find a space where you can come and sit and you're welcome and you can
eat and drink and...
Well, I mean, there's so, I mean, I don't know the statistics, but I mean, the volume of cafes per square kilometre in this region must be one of the highest in the world.
Oh, it would have to be.
But most of them are open air. There's actually very few that actually have good air conditioning. They're small ones. They're small. They're small spaces. We're quite a big
tiny
space.
Little table. No, I think it works really well down there. Bali Insiders podcast is proudly sponsored by Lighthouse Studios right here in Bali.
This space has been specifically designed for entrepreneurs, podcasters, coaches, and educators of all kinds. You can record podcasts just like ours, as well as masterclasses, social media content, and so much more.
They have awesome customizable studios to choose from. And most importantly, they take care of absolutely everything. The cameras, the microphones, the lights, even if you wish, the editing. They make it so easy.
And as well as the studios, they have a co-working cafe and some of the best food and coffee on the island of Bali. We highly recommend that you come in for a tour and have a chat about how you can create your own epic video and audio content.
You can visit them on Instagram at Lighthouse Studios Bali or jump on their website, wearelight.house. So tell us a bit about, so obviously we come in here and we film our podcast so everyone can see that you're great at editing videos and amazing studio. But tell us, I know that there's a lot of people who use beyond podcasting here, so it's great, obviously, yes, if you want to come and use the studios for a podcast, but what other types of businesses and types of creative content is being made here at Lighthouse?
Yeah. So actually, like the podcast it's probably only about 20% of what we do.
Yeah.
I actually originally built this with the idea that there were podcast studios, and as it turns out, 70% of what we do is people recording their courses, programs, masterclasses, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So obviously, you know, over this, I don't know, last decade or so, the emergence of online trainings and online learning and, you know, people
paid for courses, which is a huge business right
it's like
now.
masterclass.com and, you know, these type of things. So that's probably 70% of what we do, and we do a really good job of that. And because of the fact that we're in Bali, we're able to do things much more cost effectively that we could do, say, in Australia or USA or something. So we actually have people coming in from other countries. It's worth their while to fly into Bali to spend 3 days, 4 days in the studio recording all their content. And then we can also do the editing, piece together all their online program, etc. And then they've got that already ready for them to upload, and they've got their product. So that's the kind of thing that is probably the bulk of what we're doing. And interestingly, we get a lot of different people. So Bali's probably the center of the world for life coaches and, you know, consultants and yoga teachers and tantra gurus and, you know,
social media coaches,
social influencers and all sorts, right? So we know that that is here, and that's a big portion of who we do stuff for. Yeah. But then we also get a lot of corporate. So we had a client, a group of clients last month. One flew in from Canada, one flew in from Australia, one flew in from Singapore. 3 of them came into the studio and they did all their online training for their company. I'm not sure what company, but they came here, did the corporate training, and then went back their separate ways. And they want to do that every year. Yeah. So, I think a lot of companies, big companies are slower to adopt these kind of things, more so than, you know, the solopreneurs.
Yeah.
Small startups.
Yeah, so that's the kind of thing which is kind of catching up, and a lot of companies would rather, it's actually more cost effective for them.
Cost effective, but
So-
also that ability to say you're running a busy business in Australia and you need to record the masterclasses. It's much easier if you come out of your everyday life
Yes.
and take away all of those distractions and spend a
Yeah.
focused week getting it done and getting it recorded.
Yeah, exactly. And the good thing here at Lighthouse is everything's kind of contained here, so you can stay somewhere nearby. You can get food and drinks here all day. There's a little spot by the rice fields.
Yeah.
So it's actually a great environment to
Yes.
come and do that, and you're in a good energy and a good space. And like you said, I think it's great for people to get themselves out of their city life, create a bit of space for themselves where they can,
Create.
where they
Yeah.
can create.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the things I love best about here. I mean, fabulous for us, we live here, fabulous for us to have this space to be able to record in. But I do think it is a really great place to think of everyone's doing business differently post-COVID, and to think about bringing some of your content and coming and concentrating and getting it done in a space where, I mean, Bali is a creative hub of the world, so it's very inspiring once you get here.
And I think a lot of people take the leap to leave Australia or wherever with the idea that there's something else I want to do, but they don't really know what it is yet.
Yeah.
So, people come to Bali for all sorts of reasons, but there's a very common theme that they're coming here for some kind of retreat for themselves, like get themselves out of the city life, or some kind of eat, pray, love thing, or whatever it is. There's some kind of retreat. And a lot of people come into the studios and they've never done anything, and they're just kind of exploring. And then they come in here and they start getting ideas, and because we can explain to them what we do in the studios. You can record this, and we've got a light board over there, and they can write on the light board while they're looking at the camera, and so they go away knowing how this all works.
Yeah.
And the way that I hopefully have trained the team and structured the SOPs of the business, one of our big things here is to make the client comfortable, make them feel like we know what we're doing, so it's really easy for them. So, and people are coming in here never having done anything before, right? And that's the thing that I love to see, because they get the opportunity to expand into a new business or something.
Yeah, and learn a new skill, just like we did.
Well, exactly. I was going to use us as a bit of an example, but everyone knows our story from recording at home during COVID. I was in Melbourne, Carls was here with our little microphones and and then trying to do the editing and all of that kind of stuff. And that was a very, I guess, safe space to do it, because we're in our own environments. And then coming here, initially, I think we were quite overwhelmed because the setup is incredible.
There's bright lights, there's coloured lights, there's all sorts of stuff going on.
3 cameras, 4 cameras in front of us.
I used to think I was on the morning show.
I feel like I'm on the morning show with you guys.
I know, it is like that.
It's like, where's Karl? Where's Karl?
But no, I think that is the beauty of it, though, is that people can come in and they can just deliver their content, and you get everything else done. Because for us, the worst part was the editing or the downloading, and that was not
I think
our
it's just
expertise.
people, when it comes to doing something new, no matter what endeavour it is, but certainly when it comes to something where they want to share their expertise or get in front of a camera, there's a lot of barriers. There's a lot of mental barriers. There's a lot of
technical
barriers, but people use the technical barriers as an excuse to not get themselves in front of the camera, right? If you can remove all of that, there's nothing left. There's no more excuses anymore. And people, you'd be generally surprised, what happens if you just get in front of a camera and you can authentically just share your expertise, your wisdom, your knowledge. And I think people surprise themselves,
Well, that's where I was kind of going with that. I think then we came in here and everyone's so amazing and helpful, and
made us feel
really comfortable, gave us the time as well. You don't have to rush through and you're on a schedule, or, it was really...
Yeah, we were able to make mistakes.
And it was a really organic kind of natural process. And
And
hopefully
we
we're a bit better than we were
do not
when we
miss having
started.
to download files and make sure we're recording.
Oh my
and
gosh.
set it up. So
Yeah.
But the thing that you mentioned about organic, that's what's important. Like, I think people, when it comes to producing any kind of content, or they have the idea, I want to do something, but they have it in their mind that it needs to be so structured, it needs to be like, so scripted, and it needs to be so rigid, and it needs to be perfect before they get in front of a camera. It's like, that's not the case, because the more you try to structure it, the less authentic it's going to sound.
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's remove all the barriers, and then let's let you just to share your experience and your wisdom from your personality. So that's the objective.
And that is also the new trend in marketing, is the authenticity now. It's gone are the days of the big structured commercials where you're delivering a message.
Hard selling.
It's more like share your experience, share your knowledge, and that's a new form of creative that's coming through anyway. So it works really well with that.
Yeah.
So you're getting people from all over the world though, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
there's obviously there's a lot of Aussies here. We get a lot of Russians, and then we get a lot of Europeans, so especially Netherlands for some reason.
Yeah.
A lot of French.
Yep.
France and Netherlands seems to be the biggest from Europe region. Yeah, we get people from everywhere.
Do you
all over.
always know what they're going to record before they come in? Like, does anyone surprise you and it turns out to be OnlyFans content?
So I'm not the videographer, so I'm not privy to everything that goes on. We don't know exactly what they're recording. We ask questions in terms of
What do you need?
Yeah, and I like to know. It's more about being friendly and asking them, what's your jam? What are you talking about? What are you sharing? I think, like, we have, contracts and waivers and stuff, and I think we've got very strict policies on that kind of stuff, and I'm sure people are doing that. But I would like to think that if someone was going to do that here, we'd know about it, and we'd send them. So
Send them on their way.
yeah.
But do you find that lots of people are, because I've found it with us even coming in here, we come to record our podcast, but then we'll always go down and have lunch afterwards to debrief. And then we meet people that you end up collaborating with. Are you seeing that happening a lot?
A lot, yeah. So I think one of the things that we have done well, like I mentioned before, is the kind of people we have floating in and out of Lighthouse. Very good quality people.
Yeah.
A lot of people with different experience, successful businesses. And Bali seems to have this collective mindset of being very willing to share and being, it's like some places in the world, I think even Australia, it's like it's very competitive, and it's like here it's like if somebody else opens a studio down the road, I'm like, well, how can I help them? How can they help me? And it's more like that here.
It's very collaborative and
so the kind of conversations that end up happening when you meet people at Lighthouse, especially, they tend to be very quality conversations. People you can do stuff with, you can learn from. It's
Find your
very
next
cool.
podcast guest down.
Exactly.
I think we have done that before.
We have done that before. So I think that's a really interesting part of it too, is that you're meeting other people in industries that potentially you end up working together. Working together there. Yeah. So I guess the next big question is, what's next?
There's a lot we want to expand on here.
In Bali, in Lighthouse.
Well, no, just here. Like, we're only one year in, and we've still got a long way to go in maximising what we want to do here. So the biggest thing we want to focus on is actually bringing people from overseas to come here. So kind of studio tourism is what I would kind of call it. I don't know that anybody's ever kind of done this before. So we do have people coming in from other countries, but I kind of really want to solidify that as a thing. And then there is opportunity to put satellite studios in other areas of Bali. I wouldn't do the cafe and the events and stuff. From time to time we have events and stuff like that. I wouldn't do that again. I would put the studios in different locations. So probably 2, maybe 3 more in Bali. And then from there we can take the studios global as well. So I have had interest to do that. But having learned some previous business lessons of trying to do things too quickly.
Yep.
I just want to really dial this in and just make sure that, you know, we have a good reputation, and I want to make sure that we're able to maintain that and keep that, the quality of what we do and the experience that people have. I want to just make sure that that's just dialed in, so that
And
when I
that's,
go
it's
on,
hard, isn't it? Because it's like, it's so exciting. You can see the opportunity, you can see the need.
Yeah.
But, and this was a conversation we were all just having before, you know, there's so much opportunity at the moment. Just making sure that you're picking and choosing the right things to do,
and,
so that you're not.
and things like that are a little bit harder in Indonesia to like hand over. So it's easier in some regards, you know, in terms of, you know, cost of labor here is cheaper, but it's also more difficult because you wouldn't necessarily get the same kind of talent that you might get abroad somewhere. So as a CEO, it's a little bit trickier to kind of have somebody underneath you who can kind of take over.
Yeah, that
It
you
is
can go,
trickier.
I don't really need to look into that much. I can just check
I mean,
in once
as
in
you
a
know,
while.
I've got great people working here. But yeah, there's another level to get to, I guess, before I kind of make the move to step out. Yeah.
Step back. I think that will take you a little while, Monty.
Yeah, I think so too. Oh, and look, it's even if I went and focused on building their studios or put my attention, I would still. I like, you know, before you guys started, I'm in here in the studio, like I'm the one who put the books on the table. And it's like, you know, I'm making sure stuff is dialed in.
Yeah.
And I like it. I enjoy doing that. And anytime we have a new client, I'm giving some advice to them on, you know, how we should do the studio, how we should set the cameras. And this is not a skill I had before. It's just, but I enjoy doing that part as well. So,
doing that.
Yeah, yes. That's the part I don't mind doing.
Yeah. So you get the Monty expertise as well.
Comes with the package.
Yes.
It comes with the Lighthouse package.
I'm not going to guarantee how much time I can give to you, but you'll get a
books
touch
on the table.
Yeah.
You get the Monty touch.
You get the touch. Well,
Yes.
congratulations. I mean, we think it's an epic space. We love
Thank you.
having it as our home for our podcast, our own morning show.
This one is like, this is out of all the sets that we do, and there's been hundreds, this is probably the closest to a morning show kind of thing.
It is. And we love it.
I love it.
Yeah. Next step we'll have like some like big LCD screens and stuff like this.
Yeah, so we can interview guests somewhere else and chat to them across the screens. No, we love it. So congratulations on the space, and definitely worthwhile checking out for anyone who's coming over here.
Please.
Absolutely.
But we always end with
Our Bali Insider tip.
Okay.
So give us your best tip on anything Bali related.
So this is for people traveling here for any amount of time, short living here. I think actually what probably applies to everybody is if you're going to come here, like really embrace and go out of your way to experience the Balinese culture.
Yep.
I think a lot of people come here and you can live a great life here. You know, there's a lot of conversation recently, you know, like people saying, oh, you know, Bali's, it's not cheaper to live in Bali anymore. It's like, okay, well, if you're comparing a house in Australia to a villa here, it's probably on par.
Yeah.
But lifestyle-wise, there's no comparison. I cannot get my laundry done for $3 in Australia. Like, there's things that you just cannot compare. So, but I think a lot of people come here and then they kind of get wrapped up in that lifestyle. And I'm living the good life, and you know, they're just doing the stereotypical, you know, going to the beach and, you know, eating out of cafes and you know, doing that, and they experience that, but they don't really experience the Balinese culture. And so I would really encourage people to go out of the way to connect with the locals and not just go to the temples, but get a Balinese friend to take you to the temple and get their perspective.
Go to their
and get
house
them
for
to
dinner if they
exactly
invite you. Or...
that kind of thing. So like just really immerse yourself in the Balinese culture because it really is beautiful. And I think there's something about doing that which kind of opens up your perspective to the way the world works and, you know, what your place in the world is.
Yeah.
And certainly there's opportunities, you know, for people moving abroad and bringing ideas and fresh eyes to things that happen here. But I think, the more that you can embrace the Balinese culture.
Yeah.
I mean, fundamentally, that's what why we all love it and why we're all here. So if, you're only seeing that top level
of tourism and cafes.
you're not experiencing Bali.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
Great tip.
Yeah.
So come and experience the real Bali.
Yeah. And above all, like, just really respect there's things here that make us scratch our head about the way that the laws are and the rules are, etc. But like, I chose to be here, and I have no place in telling them how their laws should be, what's right or what's wrong. It's like, I'm choosing to be in their country, and I got to have full respect for how they want to do that.
Yeah.
And whilst sometimes it can be frustrating, it's like, it's their country.
Yeah. We have a saying, TII. When you kind of, there's a rule and you don't really understand it, or something you don't understand it, it's like, put that in the TII box. This is Indonesia.
Okay. This is, exactly.
Yeah.
That's our little
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
just how it is.
So a lot of people come here, they get frustrated, and then they have outbursts, and it's like, what are you doing here? Like,
Yeah. And that's maybe a sign then that it's not for you if you can't come in and accept that.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all seen that happen where expats come in or try to come in.
Yeah.
And Bali quickly
It
rejects.
kind of pushes them out.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And then they'll complain like, oh, Bali's had
It's
it. Bali's not
terrible,
cool.
yeah.
It's like, no, that's going to follow you around everywhere you go.
Bali has a special magic of having the right people here doing the right things.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
People get spat out.
They either get warmly embraced by the island, or they get pushed out really
I've seen
quickly.
people get spat out very fast.
Yeah.
So
But
be ready.
If you're starting to get those vibes, then maybe you need to go before you book your ticket. Well, thank you so much, Monty.
Thank you.
We love this space, and it was about time we brought the man behind the space onto the podcast.
Well, I would ordinarily try and do some kind of plug and www. But I don't need to, because the links will be on your.
The links are there, the banners are at the bottom, and everybody knows that this is the home of our podcast. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, there you have it. If you're coming to Bali, come to Lighthouse Studios, take a tour. They give you a free tour and I think a free coffee if you come and check out the
studios.
Come and see where our home is. We might be recording if you come for a visit.
Come and say hi. But yeah, if you're thinking about doing anything creative, as Monty said, masterclasses, podcasts, webinars, Lighthouse is definitely the place to check out.
Make sure you try a spicy margarita, or if you're here in the afternoon and you fancy a little
Or
tipple.
morning, let's be honest.
Morning, both work. But as always, stay tuned to our socials, subscribe to our YouTube, send us through any of your suggestions of guests you want to see. We've got some great ones lined up, and we will see you next episode. Bye.